You were talking about money, Mark.
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like,
didn't get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
The clap and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
All right.
Yep.
We're going 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to another episode of Key Factors. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and this podcast is sponsored by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs nationally. And this episode, we are going to be focusing on coaching, the implementation and education of coaching and having a coach in any type of profession, but more so mortgage and real estate. And I have my coach personally coming from Florida here today with us, Katie Hasson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
Awesome. I had you on here for a previous podcast. We got into who you are, but the folks on the line didn't get to know any of that stuff. And this is for the first time hearing this type of platform for them. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into coaching and where you are now so that we can just jump into some of these topics.
Yeah, that sounds good. So born and raised in Florida, as you already know. I am specifically in the sales and leadership development type coaching, and how I first cut my teeth in sales, I guess you could say, is the School of Hard Knocks.
Absolutely.
So went door to door selling educational reference books with Southwestern Advantage. It's the oldest division of the Southwestern family of companies.
So it goes way back. They've been coaching before coaching was coaching.
I think 160 some years, 165 years at least. College kids still go door to door, selling educational books 80 hours a week in a different state, running their own business. So
very cool. So I brought this topic to discussion because I believe the concept of coaching in our industry is not taken as seriously as it should be. I believe that people feel as though having a coach is more of a task than a tool. I believe that most see it as an expense and not an investment. And I want to shed some light on some of those things. So just to give our folks some perspective, you as a coach, how long have you been coaching and how many people do you coach currently? And then if you could lead into what type of people and what industries they come from.
So I've been coaching now for 6 years, and I coach, I enroll, I help people enroll in coaching. I'm also a team leader, so I can recruit people to become coaches. So have been doing that now for quite a while.
And from my understanding, that is actually your business within your business. So you're 1099, you seek your own, and that's the way we met each other essentially. But how many under your umbrella do you have in your management?
Yeah, and we highly believe in being practitioners of what we preach. I always like to tell people I'm not going to coach someone to go prospect if I'm not doing it myself.
Well, yeah.
Personally, a full roster for me would be around 30 coaching clients, just in terms of people that I coach. But I always like to say I'm not always going to be the best person or the best coach for every person. So we have over 100 coaches internationally, and we make sure that each client gets matched with the right coach.
Okay.
So personally, for me, coaching around 30 is good because then it still gives me opportunity to go out and meet new people and potential other clients.
So in the discussion of you have to seek out your own business, where do you typically find people that are in need of coaching?
It's interesting that you use that terminology because some people, they don't know they need a coach. I don't know many people that wake up and say, I think I'm going to go get a coach today.
That's true.
But the main industries that we work with and that we coach are real estate, mortgage, insurance, financial planning, title, really anyone in the realm of sales. I've coached random industries as well, too. Maybe we can open that can of worms if you want. Maybe we won't. But I work extensively with real estate and mortgage.
Okay. And in the seeking of mortgage professionals, how would one discover that they need coaching and knowing if it is the right thing for them?
I think everyone needs a coach.
Okay.
And in the same breath, it almost sounds like an oxymoron, but I don't think everyone's a good fit for coaching, or coaching's not a good fit for everyone.
Okay. That makes sense.
I think it comes down to finding what works for that person. because what works for one person isn't always going to work for the next person. And to what you were talking about earlier, I have ran into those people who I've gotten to where I am for a reason, and they're not very open-minded to it, and that's okay.
And I can attest to that concept. I was one a while back, because I've been in coaching now for 3 years, something like that, that I got here because of the lumps and bruises and things that I've learned from, but essentially having someone to keep you on the right path and all those things and help visualize the goals that you have for yourself. But there's so many different things that I can go down rabbit hole wise, which I'm going to. But let me ask you this. Is it mostly new to the business, or is it more someone reaching plateaus? Tell me about that piece of it.
I've coached people, or we've coached people that are brand new to sales, never have made a cold call or never done anything, all the way to some of the top producers in the entire nation who have that thought process. And I think that's the one thing that I've appreciated about not only meeting you, Mark, but learning how and seeing how you've grown in terms of, okay, I've gotten to where I am for a reason, but I don't know what I don't know. Like, some of the best people that we work with, whether they're top producers or leaders, have that mentality of there's no finish line when it comes to learning. And some of it might be a review, but maybe I needed to hear it at the time and where I'm at.
And that's very true. I can attest to it. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is I am a student to the game. And those are among the top traits of top producers, but confirming those things each time we meet, it's a testament. So yeah. In regards to, let's say, the coaching piece of it, if one would say, what is the difference between a manager and a coach? I don't get it. I already get coaching from my manager. What are those types of conversations? What do those go like?
I think of an interview recently I did with another client just on his experience. And that's one of my favorite parts about coaching is seeing how people's perspective shifts and how they change their thought process, because he references, and thanks to you, I'll be posting it on my social media soon.
Super important, y'all.
Yeah. But he referenced how getting into coaching, he shifted his perspective, not only on what he was doing with his day and his time, but also what that looked like from an internal, because he also has internal opportunities and internal coaching and training, and that's all great. And he said, but there's a whole different aspect to it when you have somebody outside of your company, outside of your business, that there doesn't have to be any kind of filter, right? It is a no judgment zone. It's literally a sounding board to be able to talk things out, be able to digest it, be able to get a different perspective, not in the day-to-day.
And it's not necessarily from a disinterested party, but it is a third party. It is somebody that is not essentially tied to directly into your world, into your everyday process.
But invested in your success.
Absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense.
To answer your question directly, I think the difference between a manager and a coach, a manager, yes, can coach you and probably does. Great leaders do. And I think a lot of times it's almost like the teacher versus parent analogy. I can say the same thing over and over again sometimes, but when it comes from someone else, it just resonates differently. And sometimes that effect happens as well too.
No, it makes sense. It truly does. And I guess throughout this, acting as the naive person to give folks a good perspective, I am the testament to this. Truly, I have to continue to remind others out there that, hey, I do have a coach. And they're like, all the things that you're doing, well, what do you think keeps me on track for the most part? But as we dive into this, I want to get specific or more specific to this industry, mortgage, real estate. What types of producers do you see benefiting the most from coaching? In my opinion, anybody that does coaching and actually commits to it is going to see results. But in that industry, where do you see the mortgage and real estate profession?
And I'm going to take this from a broad perspective down narrow. I think the main, and specifically in what we do in helping with people, it might be for some people, those skill sets, it could be sales skills. How do I ask questions that don't seem so salesy? How do I close effectively? How can I generate new leads? Those type of skills. For some people, that's what that looks like. For some people, it's more hey, how can I get off this emotional roller coaster of like, when I have a great month, I'm feeling great, I'm looking great, everything's great. And then maybe that deal falls apart or something happens.
And we see a lot of that in our industry. The roller coaster effect, I guess the concept is you're a fisherman and then essentially you're the Skinner to where you've got to go and do the business because you haven't made it to the point that you have a team in place that is assigned certain tasks, or you do have a team in place, but you haven't understood or realized that you need to put certain tasks in their way to delegate and automate and all these things.
Mm-hmm. Like
and that's
chicken and the egg.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chicken and the egg. I never really understood that.
It's like, what comes first? Like,
I'm totally joking. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, which one did come first?
Yes. And I'm thinking, I'm laughing, but I'm also thinking about applying it to back to your question.
Sorry.
Back to the question that you're referencing.
Those listening, think about that for a second. Which one came first, the chicken or the egg? Okay, now
let's
back
not
to
open that can of worms. It's not what this episode of podcast is about.
No, not at all.
But I think with the motivation piece, and I say motivation, but there's a lot of clients and there's a lot of people out there that are motivated.
Mm-hmm.
When I say motivation, I mean like consistency and focus. So getting off of the roller coaster. I think of a client, he was amazing too, out of North Carolina. He was talking about how, hey, I've noticed that I've been in the business over 16 years.
Oh, wow.
But had experienced that emotional roller coaster of getting lots of business, but then being too into it. And then it was this cycle. And two things, perspective and what you're doing with your time and your systems. And that was the other one I was going to say that people get into coaching for is like, how do I work more efficient? How do I work smarter, not harder? But those two things, and he started having some of the best months in his career and had the best quarter in his career. And when I asked, hey, what are you seeing differently? Like we're seeing some consistency here. And I know that was one of the goals. What's making the difference? And he said, besides actually knowing where I'm spending my time now, he's like, the fact that I know, like I have a consistent conversation with you to bring me down from those two highs and pick me up from those lows. He's like, I know some of the things that happened last month a year ago probably would have residually affected me a little bit more emotionally, which would have translated back into that cycle.
That makes sense.
So I don't know if that's
and that makes sense. And I guess leading to that, what do you say to the folks that I guess believe that coaching is more you're paying for motivation, and I can get that motivation from my daily podcast or my YouTube video that I watch? Does that make sense? Thinking it's a cheerleader pepping you up. Whereas in my opinion, it's way more than that.
And I think people get into coaching for different reasons. At the end of the day, they have to have a why for getting into coaching. There has to be things like they want to work on. What's your reason? And sure, like you could be a motivated person, but at the end of the day, you're still a person. And I think it's healthy for people to be motivated, but not to always have to grind it out. I'm like shifting my perspective on that word just because it's like if you grind something too much, there's nothing left.
Wow. That's a deep concept.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I'm more like going, hey, how do we find a good flow? There are motivated people out there and maybe they don't need the rah all the time.
Right.
Maybe they need it for something else. I think of the personal trainer analogy all the time. Like, I know I'm hiring one again, but I've hired one for whether it was.
Is it a resolution? I don't believe in the resolution. No, I believe in goals.
I believe in different seasons, and in this season, I'm getting one again.
Gotcha.
But I could do that for the techniques of it. I could do it for the motivation. I know how to work out. I know how to do all the things that this person is going to show me, but I'm going to push myself harder when somebody's there watching me or telling me.
Accountable.
And the accountability. If I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to do it. And especially if I'm paying them to be there, I'm definitely going to do it. And
that makes sense.
That's the similar concept, but applied to your business and applied specifically to sales and leadership development. So that
makes sense. And I think the leadership piece is a big part of the conversation when it comes to coaching. If you are, and not to say that it's not for someone that just wants to be a producer, but if even top producers have some way, shape, or form of developing into a leader, because they still have to lead their team if they are going to grow into what they're destined to be, if that makes sense.
I was just going to say, I've had so many conversations with people who are like, man, like I've gotten to where I am because of what I produced, but I have never been in a leadership role before, or they've been in a leadership role for a while and they're so frustrated because they're trying to lead people the way they know what they want to be led, which is obviously a couple conversations that you and I have had.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
But being able to understand that there's still more in different buckets and you can wear those hats. You can wear the sales hat. You can wear the leadership hat. You can wear the recruiting hat. It's an and conversation.
And I think that's the next piece I would like to spotlight, which is you're equipped with the ability to grab different tools from your tool belt at different times. And I've witnessed that and can attest to it, to where it's like, hey, Katie, let's shift gears and focus on this for the next quarter if we can. And you're able to come equipped, bam, here you go. Here's the content. Here's the, I guess, concept behind it. And then here's the accountability that I'm going to provide for you. And it works. So if you could talk or
sprinkle on a little bit of, let's talk specifics too.
Sure, sure.
I think that's where some of the amazing conversations that we have had come into play. It's like, we'll talk about the concept and the big picture and the content behind it. And then it's like, okay, well, how does this apply to you?
Absolutely. And I think that, I guess, is what, if you could kind of go in depth about how you have different tools at different times, scenarios, maybe that you've had throughout this journey.
And I think that's one, actually, I just got this question recently. Oh, today on that phone call.
No way.
I had someone say, what makes you different or who's your competitors? And I'm like, I said, I can't really speak about competitors, but I think the one thing that Southwestern does really well is actually try to customize it as much as possible to that individual. Like, I've had some clients that have gone through some major crazy life things.
Yeah.
And talking about their numbers that day was not what they needed. And that's okay. I never claim to be a therapist or anything like that. So I always encourage them to go do that if that's what they need. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, what is this person working on? Is this person working more on developing their business and getting it off the ground? Or is this person working more on recruiting? Like, where are they at? Like you said, and it comes down, the one thing that I want to point out, that the reason we were able to do that and pivot is because you were able to be transparent and communicate with me. That is huge. So many times people don't want to rock the boat and they think they just want to be a good coachee or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it comes, at the end of the day, it comes down to, okay, if we have good, transparent communication, we'll shift when we need to shift.
And I think those are the folks that very quickly or initially went into coaching believing that it is a task and not a tool, but they didn't want to either let themselves down by saying no to the coaching because they knew they needed it, or truly didn't feel like it was the worth it investment and wanted to say you had a coach sometimes.
I've seen quite a few different scenarios. And what I've learned throughout the years is I try to set really good expectations on the front end for people getting into coaching and making sure not only is it a good fit, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, absolutely.
Like, sometimes the coaching conversations that you have to have and the hard conversations are practice for some of those other hard conversations, either with that referral partner, with that buyer, with someone that you just, I don't want to pick up the phone. I don't really want to make that call. But the more you have those kind of conversations, I don't want to say the easier it gets, because hard conversations are not easy, but
they truly do. They truly become easier. I mean, there was maybe 4 years ago or so, one of my loan partners was kind of repeating something that was age old, which is always do your hardest task in the beginning of the day. So you're done with your hardest and it's all downhill from here. But that makes perfect sense. I wanted to dive into some of the content, and I have it sitting here on the table, not because of this episode or anything like that, but I reference it quite often on this podcast. And some of the content that we read is coming directly from Southwestern Consulting. I guess some of the concepts that they talk about, which one that sticks real heavily is take the stairs and procrastinate on purpose. I love referencing that book in general because it talks about the automation, delegation, or elimination from your process.
yeah.
I guess if you could kind of give us a little bit of that and how you incorporate it within your business model with your folks.
And I will preface, those are still some of my personal favorite books.
Really?
That author is no longer with Southwestern Consulting.
Okay.
But
they're still selling his books.
Right. Well,
they did something right.
Yes.
They raised him and then they got a piece.
Well, yeah, like obviously, but he like that, like I'm still a big fan. Like I said, there's just still, I still personally recommend those books, still friends with them as well too.
Okay.
But anyways, I think the important Southwestern principles that are in there are like charging into those hard things, like, and take seriously references being Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the affirmations that have been like floating around Southwestern for a while, like, I am a buffalo. And because you charge into the storm type of thing. Like you don't avoid things.
No,
you just
go through it.
Yeah.
You got to get through it
head on.
That's absolutely. And I think if folks don't understand the concept of the buffalo, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Give us a little bit.
Go ahead.
Well, essentially, most would run either away from the storm to hide or go around it, whereas the buffalo charges forward and just gets through it because the quickest place between A and B is a straight line.
And the greenest grass is right on the other side.
That's so true because it was just watered.
Yep.
Such a simple concept, but such a deep meaning for most that need to hear it, and you never know when somebody needs to hear something like that. We were talking about the concept of that and how you apply it. And let's go into the power of coaching and the, I guess, ease of access that you guys have and people just don't get it. How is that possible? I'll
put it into the same bucket as like real estate and mortgage, right? I remember a client that had like I don't want to say a deathly fear of cold calling or knocking on doors, right? Door knocking specifically. And he was like, no, I just don't think I can do it. Why don't I just call more FSBOs? Or like, why don't I just do these other things? Yeah. And I said, well, we had a whole conversation around it. Anyways, he was open-minded to it. We talked through all the door knocking techniques and all of those things. And he came back and part of that was just attacking it head on. He did it forming the habit of doing the common denominator of success. There I go, is forming the habit of doing things that unsuccessful people don't want to do.
Fact. That is so factual.
So challenged him with that. I was like, it doesn't matter what the outcome is going to be, but because you don't want to do it, that's why you need to do it. And so went out and did it. And over a couple of times, he ended up getting 2 transactions out of that. So out
of doing something that he should have been doing, but didn't want to do.
And I'm not saying door knocking is the only way to get business.
No, but it's an example of the basics still do work. You just have to do them. And I think I resonate with that because the loan officers, I consider things like that called needle moving activities, as simple as open houses, as simple as sending out a certain amount of mobile apps to your new real estate partners, letting them know that it's that easy to parlay each other and get this out to more people in the market. But for some odd reason, it's like most people they're above that. Yeah. Well, they're above that. And I think that's a good thing that you use it as an example, but it's true. Those basic things people just aren't doing. And instead of doing those things, they're too high in the clouds on what worked before that they don't want to go back to the basics. And then essentially they end up either getting out of the business or changing or thinking that they failed when their failure truly was giving up on what got them there, if that makes sense. Kind of a basic concept.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel like there was more to that question, but
Maybe.
We'll get back to it.
Okay. What do you got on there? I don't think you got to show this to me before we started.
I was just writing down some of the things that, based on your questions, that I thought were.
And we've already nailed them all? There's no way.
Like why people get into coaching? Yeah. Okay. I think it just depends on the individual. The person. Yeah. But I think one thing that you've referenced a couple times is the people who say, I don't need it. Like, oh man, but can we talk about something for a second? Like the people that say, yes, I know this is good for me, but this needs to happen first. Or, after, obviously everybody heard the holidays objections over the holidays, and which is, true. I do believe there's a right time. And I always challenge people like, is it the right time or is it fear? Because it can be disguised.
Would you say that most consider coaching to increase sales volume? I think that's got to be the number one reason. Obviously, number one is I'm going to invest to make more or to produce more, which that's in turn the constellation prize for working hard.
That's the goal.
Bummer.
And that's why I'm very, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, that's why I'm very transparent with people. Like right now, our company-wide average is a 25.1% increase
in production
over 12 months.
And that's the measurement of which you succeed. Yes.
That's average. Of course, people don't do that. And then I've also have people who, like, somebody that like increased their production over 60% last year.
Sure.
And I have another client who increases production 100%. It varies. It comes down to the person. And if they're coachable, if they're actually open-minded, not to changing their entire business, but just open-minded to doing things outside of their comfort zone, being able to test it out, being able to talk about it with their coach. And if they can be committed to themselves, if they can actually let me test this out and see how it works. When somebody says, well, what happens if I don't get anything from it? I said, the only thing I can't guarantee is what you're going to put into it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think the different, sectors or angles at which you've helped me over the years, overcoming objections, there's something for every single person. If you could give us, a piece of overcoming objections, somebody that is looking to increase sales by way of overcoming objections, what's some advice you'd give them off the cuff?
And when it comes down to answering objections, I think of, like, first of all, mindset piece. A lot of people think, okay, this is their objection. Okay, I'm gonna handle it. And it's like a fencing. And rather than fencing with someone, because you've heard the saying, like, you'll win the battle but lose the war type of thing. Yeah. I think of it more like dancing. And being able to isolate, is this the real objection? Because typically what they say the first time is not the real thing. So
that's true. And I think a while back we were talking about this same concept or topic, and you had brought it back to, I guess, when you were door knocking, and it was like, I'm going for the no this time. And it changed the whole way of thinking. And all of a sudden you started closing deals.
It's like, at the end of the day, if I know it's a numbers game, I'm not going to, and if I have enough people to call, I'm not going to care if this person tells me no. Like, who's next?
Yeah. And that's what you mean by mindset. I mean, it truly, I guess, having somebody there to put it back into perspective for you.
When you're feeling
some type of way. It's true.
Yeah. So the two main reasons I've seen personally, I think everybody's different, but the two main reasons I've seen people get into coaching, one is perspective, is they want to shift that whole mindset shift. I want to get to the next level. I need a different perspective. And then the main reason I would say is probably the time management, the systems, the organization. Like, I'm on this hamster wheel. And sometimes it just takes slowing down to speed up type of thing. But I would say those are the two main things I see with people getting into coaching.
If you had to give somebody that is on the fence about coaching, whether it is for them or not, let's say on the real estate side or mortgage, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's about helping people. It's about increasing sales. It's about closing more deals, bottom line. What kind of advice would you give them? What nudge would you give? Or would you just say it either isn't or is for you?
For those people that you're referencing, like in their gut, they know it's probably for them. They're just like, oh. And what I've also realized, that we talk about this in coaching and in Southwestern, like, there's a law of diminishing intent. Like, I think you and I've talked about it. Like, the longer that someone
puts it off,
waits, like, I always think of it like, you and I've probably had this conversation, like the danger of the when then mentality of, like, oh, when this happens, then it'll be good. Like, whenever we have a when then thought process, it gives ourselves a back door. Like, it gives ourselves a way out, and our mind is only going to try to convince us of that way out. Like, no one's ever going to talk themselves. I would really have to think about it if I've ever heard of someone talking themselves into coaching. Out of the hundreds of people in the last 6 years that I've personally talked to that were like, yes, I definitely want to do this, let me think about it. The majority, like 99% of them,
needed coaching,
talk themselves out of it. So my advice for those people, not saying for the people that it's not a good fit for, but for the people that know in their gut it's a good fit, it's like, okay, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's the whole definition of confidence. It's not like not having fear. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I will tell you, I have seen some people who take that small little action, and then, man, even in other areas of their life, it starts to be a snowball effect because they took the stand for themselves. Like, they invested in themselves. So.
And I think that is the biggest key factor we can take from this is invest in yourself. You've got to have, even if you don't have the confidence at least have the goal to risk in yourself. And at the end of the day, the idea isn't to grow your production by 1 or 2 units, homes, loans. It's to do way more than that. So essentially, whatever cost it ends up being should be relevant, I would imagine, right? Let's talk about that transparently, if you don't mind, for the folks listening, because who knows how many people will listen to this and then go out and check on coaching, and then they see the price and it's like, what the heck was I even looking for? Or maybe it's somebody that's listening and they go, that's it. That's all it is for. You never know. And I was going to say, just like as in life, there's a song that a good friend of mine sent me, and I think it's called Levels. Kind of like life, there's levels to this.
Right. Yes, exactly. But I would say, just to answer the question in the best way I could, would be like, I think one of the main reasons why the majority of our clients are in real estate and mortgage is because it takes a couple transactions, like 1 or 2, to make the return on investment. And then some. And then I've even had clients who are like, okay, well, the habits and the skills and the things that I learned over that year of coaching are probably going to last a lot longer into my career.
Oh, that makes sense.
And like, I know a colleague who has a client like that, who like 5 years later is continuing to implement the things that she learned in coaching. No. And I mean, obviously people stay in it longer than that too.
100%. Am I? So, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I think maybe we relate that to the coach's level of expertise, experience, sometimes even just their marketing abilities as to what they charge, because you could have what is his name? Tom Ferry type coach and pay all this money for a name and you're getting recordings, whereas you pay less, but still get the same value from an actual person that can help you, understand you, get to know you, and grow with you, if that makes sense. So if you had to put a number on it, what would you say range-wise? I mean, I know what I pay, but range-wise, what would you say? Beginner to, let's say, I want the best coach in the business.
Like range-wise, I mean, we have products all the way from $99 all the way up to, concierge, thousands and thousands. It's all over the place. And, with there being so many things out there, like, I mean, typically they range in the couple thousands, but I will say I've never seen anyone go through any program, apply what they're learning, and not make a lot more back than they've invested.
I would have to attest to that as well. I mean, having so many of my loan officers go through the coaching program with you guys, you can see the results from it. So again, I'm a testament to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty cool seeing the progress and being able to promote something like this. And then someone signs up for it. And then 6 months later, they thank me for letting them know that coaching was a thing. And I gave them the motivation to actually invest in themselves. It's a strange concept.
That's so cool. But I would say that exact reason is the reason why I love what I do. Like,
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's being able, and that's the whole reason I got into coaching in the first place. I had recruited these kids to sell books door to door. And I had people look at me and say, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but I learned so much. Thank you. And I'm like, I like that. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to help people break their own belief barriers. Like, while I'm doing it at the same time, like, being able, like, if I'm going to hold other people accountable, I got to hold myself accountable too, So anyways, I think that's the main reason. And it's cool to not only see people increase their income and their numbers and everything like that, but it's really cool when you see people who make those intangible growth as well too, in their confidence or in their time with their family or, whatever that looks like for them.
Whatever their goals are at the time. No, that makes perfect sense. And I was going to close with that, but then you sparked another kind of interest that I, as a coach, you're coaching 30 plus people in a month at a time on strict regimens. You are constantly living and dying by the calendar. You've automated, delegated, you practice what you preach in that regard. But in regards to your own personal goals, do you, and I don't know if I've asked you, do you have a coach? And is it the same kind of accountability that one would think that a coach would have of themselves? Because other coaches, you guys mix and mingle together. What is is it tough for, let's say, a coach to coach themselves?
I think everybody needs a coach. Said that. I have 3 coaches. So
dang, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I have one specifically, like, for production, for all the things that we coach on. I also have an emotional intelligence coach. And
that's huge. No, that's huge. And I think that needs to be spotlighted. I don't believe
we could do a whole episode.
Yeah.
On that.
I mean, I don't believe people invest enough in knowing about emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
not even going to the point of applying it, but even knowing what it is. So sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So I have multiple coaches, and it changes over time. But yes, I believe in not only practicing what I preach from a technique prospecting business perspective, but also like if I'm going to coach you on affirmations and self-talk, I'm going to be doing it myself too.
No, I mean,
I'm not perfect with it. No one's progress, not perfection.
And I guess that's
progress,
more of my
not
question
perfection.
is, do you find yourself, because we are all human, being a machine that we are all, and me as a leader, I'm trying to coach somebody kind of like you would want to see a machine eventually operate, but also with the empathy and the emotional intelligence of this is how you need to do it. But I also don't want to feel like I'm turning people into machines. And for yourself, do you feel like you tend to drift off from the path as frequently or less frequently as normal people would? Because you coach people, you know how often it happens and how often it doesn't.
Yeah.
Is it tougher for you as a coach, or do you see yourself human?
Well, yes. Last time I checked, I'm human. No, I think it depends on the season, you know. And yes, there's been times where I'm like on it, man, full force, and then there's been times where whether it's personal life or things happen, and like I notice that I coach people on things that sometimes I need to hear myself, like, hey, okay, well, did you not do that thing that you needed to do because you just didn't do it? Or hey, what about this other thing that's happened in your life? Like, is there an opportunity for grace here? And so I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, like I find people like in this pendulum swing sometimes of like, I got to be either all out on top of my game with everything or I'm failing.
Yeah.
And rather than that pendulum, I'm going to go back to the dance analogy and we'll just dance it out.
No, that makes sense. It truly does. And I think it's okay for people to know that you can be human. We have our swings. We're not always constantly. And I think people that just listen to motivational videos and things of that nature that are like, go. And if you're tired, it doesn't matter. You don't sleep. Yeah, there are times
I've had to
when
learn that the hard way. Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise. I took things literally and I didn't sleep.
And then it ends up, whether you realize it or not, it ends up in your face. Like, oh.
Yep. You take a toll, things tend to stack up. And then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute. It's not possible what they're saying is true. So I think that's a lot of things that coaches put perspective in play. It's like, dude, you're normal, chill out. But I think people do need to hear that at times, especially those that are top producers wanting to grow their business, wanting to help more people, or wanting to invest in their people around them so that they can reach their goals faster than they, as the leader, hit theirs. Well, Katie, as always, this has been great.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to add to our listeners? And then I'd like to let them know where they can get a hold of you if they have any questions about coaching in regards to real estate, mortgage, any of that stuff.
Yeah. I love talking to people. So I'm always happy to have conversations. Like I said, sometimes it's a fit, sometimes it's not. But man, when it is, it's cool to see. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. How can people get a hold of you, ma'am?
Well,
and don't take too much time because she's still got to coach my crazy.
I got plenty of coaches for everybody.
That's awesome.
So my email is khasson@southwesternconsulting.com. So KHASSON @southwesternconsulting.com. And then I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Katie Hasson Coach.
Yes. Awesome. So practice what you preach on that one. I love it.
And LinkedIn too.
Amen. Okay. Guys, thanks for tuning in on this one. I'm your host, Mark Jones. And this is Key Factors Podcast, sponsored by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs nationally.